My story begins when I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder at the age of 13. Generalized anxiety disorder is characterized by excessive worry that is difficult to control. For me, it got so bad that I had to leave school, and I started having an extremely difficult time completing even very basic daily tasks. By 18, I developed agoraphobia, and I was terrified to leave my house. At this point, I knew that something needed to change, so I enrolled in community college. But for someone who can't really leave their house, this would prove to be quite a challenge. So I struggled to attend classes, and I considered dropping out on numerous occasions. I tried therapy and medication, and that was helpful, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't until I found philosophy that my anxiety would significantly decrease. So I was able to slowly lower my anxiety with the use of medication, therapy, and now studying philosophy. I was able to go from barely attending classes to being the president of a prestigious honor society, and even completing an honors project at Moravian University on this topic. So, of course, this isn't to brag, this is just to show that this idea has had a profound impact on me personally. And I strongly believe that these techniques that I'm going to share today can also help others. Now, of course, I didn't cure my anxiety. I'm still fighting it at every moment. In fact, you might notice me jumbling some words or taking long pauses, and it's not due to lack of preparation. It's just the nature of my anxiety disorder. So that being said, philosophical reflection is not sufficient to resolve all anxiety-related issues, and nor should it be a substitute for seeking mental health care. What I want to share with you is how philosophy, particularly ancient Greek Stoicism, can be used to lower anxiety. Philosophy, to put it extremely simply, is the pursuit of wisdom. And Stoicism is a school of thought that was established during the Hellenistic period. The Stoics hold an attitude about life that is by nature resistant to anxiety. Stoicism is focused upon oneself, rather than on external factors or on thoughts of the past or the future. So before we can get to the techniques, I think it's important to recognize one of the most notable Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, who was a very influential teacher of Stoicism. He was born a slave, and he suffered harsh treatment during that time. But in a great act of resilience, he was able to use his experience to enrich and inform his understanding. And when he was freed as an adult, he actually opened his own school to share his wisdom. Epictetus thought philosophy was about achieving happiness. He noted 3 rules for achieving happiness. 1, you must master your desires. 2, perform your duties. And 3, know yourself and your place in the universe. So now that we know who Epictetus was, we can look into our first technique, which is the dichotomy of control. So Epictetus noted 2 divisions in our world: that which is up to us and that which is not up to us. So this divide causes suffering because it makes us believe that we have control over things that we actually do not. So if we ground our happiness in things that are not up to us or are not in our control, we only find misery. But if we ground our happiness in what is up to us or what is within our control, we find peace because we can't be deprived of it. So Epictetus and other Stoic philosophers believed that the only things within our control are our own thoughts and our own actions. So we should focus on our thoughts and our actions, and everything else we just have to accept that we can't do anything about it. Worrying about it is pointless. It's not going to do anything. So this leads us to thought monitoring. So this is just monitoring our thoughts to examine them for errors in our judgment. So we might be worrying about something, and we might want to analyze that and see, is this thing that I'm worrying about, does this have to do with something that is in my control or is not in my control? And we know that if it's not in our control, we let it go. There's nothing we can do about it, so worrying about it isn't going to help anything. And if it's something that is within our control, then it doesn't really matter either, because we have control over it. So we don't have to worry about that either. Next is mindfulness and acceptance. Mindfulness just means being more aware in the present moment. So the Stoics, they believed that emotional disturbance is caused when one becomes mindlessly consumed with external events. And Epictetus believed that we should accept everything as it occurs. So, this can also be applied to anxiety, because sometimes it's easier to sort of accept the anxiety and ride the wave of it instead of fighting against it. Sometimes fighting against it actually makes it feel worse. Next is retrospective contemplation, and this is kind of a confusing term, but all it means is just thinking back on things you've done in the past. So this is not, of course, to say that we should dwell on the past. In fact, that goes against Stoic ideals. It's just a way of using our self-reflection to increase our self-awareness. So we might do this by journaling, or even just mentally reviewing our days and searching for mistakes or things we could have done better or differently. And then this allows us to grow and reflect from these things. It allows us to grow and reflect from these things. And yes. And lastly, we have affirmations. This is just using sayings or affirmations to calm the mind and recall Stoic ideals throughout the day. So I might say something like, today I am only concerned with the present moment. If I find myself worrying about things that are out of my control. Or I might say, my focus is only on the present moment if I find myself worrying about past or future events. So in conclusion, these techniques take practice to master, but I do believe that if you take the time out, you will find that they can be helpful in reducing anxiety. Finally, I urge you not only to try these techniques, but to explore philosophy for yourself. Why do we exist? What is the meaning of life? These are questions that philosophy means to explore. And these questions can be anxiety-producing, but I have found exploring the answers to be quite comforting. Thank you.